Alright everybody, welcome back. In this video we're going to look at a standard form of a linear equation and converting between standard form and slope-intercept form and how we do that. So we start with the definition of what standard form is. Standard form of a linear equation is the form ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers. Okay, and remember, integers are positive and negative whole numbers, so like 3 is an integer, -5 is an integer, 1/2 is not. And the other thing that has to be true in true standard form is that the value of a is going to be positive. So the x coefficient is going to be positive when we get done writing this into standard form. Alright, so we're going to start with some basic conversions into standard form. Our goal, get it into the form ax plus by equals c, where the value of a is positive. And for these first couple of examples, this shouldn't be terribly hard. What I'm going to do in example A is I'm just going to start by adding 5y to both sides. And if I do that, I get 4x plus 5y equals 9. And that's it. I'm done. I'm in standard form. I have all integer coefficients. All these are integers. And the coefficient of x is positive. So I'm in standard form. Alright, let's look at B now. Here I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides to get the x's and y's on the same side. That's our first goal always when we're getting in standard form, get the x's and y's on one side and numbers on the other. Now this is almost in standard form. All the coefficients are integers, but the x coefficient is a negative value. We want to turn that into a positive, and what I can do is take this whole equation and multiply it by -1, which makes this a positive 2x. And it changes the sign of everything in the equation. And now I'm in standard form. Okay? Alright, let's go on to the next set of examples. In these, we're going to take some equations that are in slope-intercept form and convert them into standard form, and see some of the things that can happen when we do that. So my first goal, always get the x's and y's on one side and the numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, gives us -3x plus y equals -7. And now I'm almost in standard form, but I have a negative a value, so I'm going to multiply the whole thing by -1, which changes all the signs, makes all the negative signs positive and all the positive signs negative. And now we have it in standard form, 3x minus y equals 7. Alright, let's look at the next one that we've got here. First, I'm going to add 1/2 x to both sides, which gets my x's and y's on the same side and my numbers on the other side. And again, I'm almost in standard form, but I have a fraction. And when we have just one fraction in an equation like this, specifically, when we have just one fraction in an equation like this, what we're going to do is we're going to just multiply this by the whole equation by the denominator of the fraction. So I'm going to take this whole equation and I'm going to multiply everything by 2. And when I do that, the 1/2 x, when I multiply that by 2, just becomes 1x. When I multiply 1y by 2, it becomes 2y. And when I multiply 3 by 2, it becomes 6. And I end up with x plus 2y equals 6. Okay, next one, going to be very similar. I'm going to subtract 2/3 x from both sides to get the x's and y's on the same side. And then to get rid of the denominator in that fraction, I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 3. And that gives me -2x plus 3y equals 15. Not quite in standard form because I have a negative x coefficient, so I'm going to multiply everything by -1, which is going to change all the signs. And now this one is in standard form. And the last one is going to be a little trickier than the other ones have been. So first we're going to get our x's and y's on one side. Got 1/4 x plus y equals 1/3. And now you're familiar with the process of finding a common denominator when you're adding or subtracting fractions. We have multiple fractions in here, and so we want to find the common denominator for those fractions, and then we're going to multiply both sides by that common denominator to get it into standard form. So the common denominator for 1/4 and 1/3 is going to be 12. And so I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 12 in order to clear out the fractions. And what happens when I do that, I take 12 times 1/4, that gives me 12 over 4x. I take 12 times 1y, that gives me 12y. And I take 12 times 1/3, that gives me 12 over 3. And if I've done this correctly, both of these fractions should now be ones that we can reduce to integer values. And that's what happens here. This is going to be 3x, and this is going to be 4. And so my equation is 3x plus 12y equals 4. Alright, so that's converting from slope-intercept form into standard form. In the next set of examples, we'll look at converting from standard form into slope-intercept form. And so all I need to do, remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So all I need to do is get them into this form, get y by itself on the left-hand side of the equation, and get everything else over to the right-hand side where we've got our x's and then our constant added on. So let's look at the first example, 3x plus 2y equals 8. I'm going to get the y by itself on the left-hand side by subtracting 3x from both sides. And then to get just 1y, I need to divide everything by 2. 2y divided by 2 gives me y. Negative 3 divided by 2 makes this a negative 3/2 x. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. And there it is in slope-intercept form. And we're going to do basically the same thing every time we're going from standard form to slope-intercept form. We're going to bring the x's over to the opposite side. And then we're going to divide by the y coefficient. So y, we're dividing by negative 3. Negative 4 divided by negative 3 is going to be 4/3. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. 7 divided by negative 3 is going to be a minus 7/3. And now it's in slope-intercept form. Let's do it again. We'll subtract 5x from both sides. Gives us negative 4y equals negative 5x plus 20. And now we want to divide everything by negative 4. Gives us y. Negative 5 divided by negative 4, again, is going to give us a positive value for our slope. And 20 divided by negative 4 is going to be negative 5. And there's our equation in slope-intercept form. And the last one. We'll subtract x from both sides. And then we'll divide both sides by 3. So that gives us y on the one side. And remember, this negative x, that's negative 1x. And so when we divide this by 3, it's going to be negative 1 over 3x. And then 9 divided by 3 is a plus 3. And there's our equation in slope-intercept form. So after watching this video, you should know what standard form is, and you should be able to convert from slope-intercept form into standard form, or really any form into standard form, and also to be able to convert from standard form into slope-intercept form. Alright, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.